The Matricom Arc. It's a router, it's a media player, and it uses Z-Wave technology to be a smart home hub for all of the smart devices within your house. The only catch being is that the router portion of this device is limited to 100 megabits. Before I dive into this video, I do want to elaborate that there is a key difference between a sponsored overview, or what some like to call a review of a product, and an actual real review. In today's video, I did put this device to the test rather than just give you the overexcited explanation of all the things it claims to do. So just keep that in mind and hopefully you enjoy the content. So as I was saying, this is the Matricom Arc. The model I have is the Arc S95X version 1. It's currently running Android version 7.1.2. The specs from the website give it a CPU of an Amlogic S905X quad-core, 2 GHz per core, with the built-in graphics being a pentacore ARM Mali 453D. It has a built-in 2 GB of DDR3 RAM and a storage capacity of 16 GB of eMMC flash memory. You can connect external storage up to 2 TB. It has Wi-Fi 802.11b, GN, and AC with a theoretical throughput of 1200 megabits per second. For the router portion of the internal storage, you get 256 megabytes worth of storage, and of course it does have Z-Wave technology built into it to connect to smart home devices. Now on the back of this, you have plenty of different connections, including an HDMI port, 2 USB 2.0 ports, an SPDIF port, 2 LAN ports, 1 WAN port, an SD card insert, and even a spot to put a small 2.5-inch hard drive. Then of course it has a plug-in for a DC 12 volt and an AV connection. It comes with Bluetooth 4.2, and for the crowning achievement of this device, it has built-in Ethernet ports with 100 megabit NICs. Moving forward in this video, when I say NIC or NIC, I am referring to the network interface card. I'm talking about the RJ45 ports on the back. This has 3 of them. All of them are running at 100 megabits. And it's a router. But before I get to that, I want to cover the home screen, what you see when you first launch it up, and what you will be seeing if you utilize it every day to watch media content. Because like I said, this is a media player. You can install Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, all of the big ones, and it actually has a fairly unique way of, combining all of those services into one screen, allowing you to easily find media that you want to watch. Kind of. But it's still very unique and kind of cool. So starting at the home screen, you have icons at the very top right. This will show you status icons for like Z-Wave or Wi-Fi, and also allow you to access the settings. Right underneath that, it's riddled with Matricom spam boxes that take up literally about 1/4 of the home screen. By the way, this is not configurable. You cannot move them, change them, or do anything with them. You are stuck with these boxes. Ugh. Right underneath that, you get a set of smaller boxes, aka shortcuts for other installed apps like Plex or HD Home Run or whatever it is you want to install on an Android device. And then at the bottom, the crown achievement of this device, you have shortcuts for quick launch items, things like your home screen, movies, TV shows, live TV, your smart home hub, energy, a router, and security. And these bottom shortcuts are definitely the focus of attention when it comes to this device, so let's talk about those individually. Of course you have your home, but after that you have your movies and your TV shows. Now this is what I was saying was kind of cool, because when you click into movies and TV shows, it displays a link to all different kinds of media content that is both available and upcoming. You can go through, browse, find, discover all kinds of content. You can even watch trailers for them. And if you find something that you want to watch that is actually available to watch, it will tell you what online service provider allows you to stream it. So if you have Amazon Prime or you have Netflix or whatever, it will show links underneath it where you can click on it that will launch that application and take you directly to it. And to be 100% honest, I'm very impressed with its implementation. There are a few tweaks that I wish it had, but to take all of the available online content, put it all in one place, allow you to not only find what you want to watch from all different kinds of content providers, but also discover new stuff coming out, watch trailers for them, etc. That's very exciting. I mean, it's literally like a glorified TV guide for the modern age streaming technology. Moving on, you have the live TV. Now, live TV can connect to a few different online live TV streams, and this of course is availability depending on your region. And in my experience, it loads pretty quick, pretty good quality, and it is actually a very interesting feature to incorporate into a media player like this. Again, it's just pulling everything that's available online, putting it on one device, and allowing you to easily access it. Now, when you go to that live TV screen, you can either scroll up and go through some of the quick launch items, or you can click into it, select your region, and get a little bit more of an elaborate list of things that you could possibly watch. Again, the amount of available content is depending on what region you're in. And then we have the Smart Home Hub. This is where you can easily add Z-Wave devices and monitor power usage. You can create specific rooms with different devices in them, like pluggables, bulbs, etc. And then you can easily turn them on and off with your remote utilizing a shortcut that will bring up the available rooms to modify. You can also add, however not tested by me, different cameras that you can also quick launch from your remote. And then moving on to the energy screen, it actually displays kilowatt per hour and estimated cost, which is actually pretty cool because if you have a bunch of Z-Wave connected device in your home, this device is going to be managing and monitoring all of those all the time. You can go through and you can see where most of your energy is being used and potentially even find ways to save money, either by turning off certain devices or whatever. And having a smart home hub is nothing new, but having something built into a device that you will probably already be using to watch movies and TV shows is pretty cool because, again, it just pulls everything together and puts it in one spot for you to easily check out, manipulate, or use. And then we get to the router shortcut. Now, the first thing you see once you hover over the router is that it does show you the current speed usage for devices on your network. When you click into it, you have a few different screens. The first one is router information, which shows you connected devices. You can also blacklist devices from your network. The second one, Wi-Fi settings. You can change the SSID and password. Side note here, it requires an old password, which is interesting. I beg to wonder what happens if you forget your old password, untested, but I just noticed that that's what you need. So don't forget your passwords, people. That might be bad. I could be wrong. Then the third option here is your Wi-Fi mode option, where you can change from standard, sleep, long range, or can turn it off completely. Then you have your intelligent band, aka app priority. You can either keep it on none, or you can prioritize games, videos, or web surfing. Then you have your router administration, where you can change the password. But again, it asks for your old password. So what if you forget that? I don't know. Then number 6, you have your router state, aka the status of your bind or connected device, and the version number. Then number 7, you have a web guide. This includes your IP status. You can configure PPPoE, also configure a static IP, and you can see other Wi-Fi devices, and you can turn on a guest Wi-Fi. So moving on from the router, the next screen is a security threat blocker. Like I said, this thing does have a few different features, one of which being a media player. So right out of the box, it does come pre-installed with a few major online content providers like Amazon or Netflix. And yes, you can install Plex, which of course everyone knows is kind of my addiction. It does run really well. It's fast, it's easy, it's a great experience overall with the Plex application. However, there are a few things that I wish I could change or tweak that could make this stand out and be a better device overall. Keep in mind that this is more of a personal preference, but I do want to bring it up because it was something that kind of bugged me. And this goes back to the home screen where you have all that Matricom spam, that, different accessories and discoveries and stuff all related to the company that you cannot change, move, delete, or anything. And you have a very small area underneath it to launch things like Plex. If this is going to be a center hub for your media consumption, I would like to make Plex a big icon at the top and replace the spam that Matricom included with the device. But as a media player, this thing can play 4K content at 60 frames per second, has surround sound either through optical cable or through the HDMI, and overall is a very good device to put all of your media content available to you in one place. And the reason why I like this again is because it allows you to discover what's out there and kind of, collaborate different online service providers into one screen, possibly saving you time. Possibly. The only thing that I don't like is, let's just say hypothetically, as an example, I have Amazon Prime Video and I have Netflix. Let's say I want to sit down, I got a nice big bowl of still warm popcorn that I just want to dig into and enjoy whatever movie I don't know I want to watch yet. So if I'm utilizing the home screen and I'm going through and I'm clicking on movies, it's kind of like playing Minesweeper. Like you click it, you're like, oh, that's not out yet. Okay, back up. You click another one that looks interesting. You're like, oh, that's not one that I have a subscription to. Then you click out of that and you go to another one. And then you're like, oh, there you go. That one is actually available that I can watch right now. So unless you have a bunch of online content provider subscriptions, you literally are kind of playing Minesweeper with whether or not you can watch anything that you actually think looks good. Which begs the question, if I was in a hurry, would it just be more efficient to go into Netflix or go into Amazon and find one there? Actually see things that are available to me. So if I had one wish, and again, I do love this idea of like this whole glorified TV guide for online content, I wish that I could change it to where it only shows the available content that you have to you. Sure, you can turn on discovery and find things that are available, but I wish I could turn that off. So as a media player, it is definitely riddled with things that you cannot configure or get rid of, but it does have a very unique way of pulling everything together into one screen. But as of making this video, this thing costs $350. So if you take a $350 price tag on something that is only a media player, you have a terrible value. But this is not just a media player. All I'm stating here is that let's say you really like the way this thing is designed, you really like the way it's laid out, and you want multiple of these devices inside your home. One for your bedroom, one for your living room, one for whatever room. For $350, this thing is an overpriced media player. Let's just say it flat out. It's way overpriced for just a media player. But moving on, let's get into live TV. Again, this is pretty interesting because you can quick launch a few different live TV streams that are available online right from the front screen. Yes, it's a little bit limited. It's not the Arc's fault, but there are only so many channels available in certain regions. But it is kind of a cool feature to have. I do wish that I could incorporate automatically my HD home run into the screen. Maybe another region setting, like a connected device, like an HD home run, that would automatically pull those channels available and basically just give me live TV all from one screen. But as a little side note here, you can download the HD home run app. So if you have one of those, you can set it up from your home screen and you can launch that separately. And then we get to my favorite portion of this review, the router portion. Calling this a router is a stretch. It's embarrassing. With 100 megabit NICs, 1999 called. They want their tech back. At first, I didn't believe it. I saw the website. It said 100 megabits in the specs. I'm like, no way. This is a router. There is no way. And then I was running Wi-Fi tests, trying to, do some connection speed tests just to figure out whether or not this thing was any good. And I was getting like 60 to 90 megabits per second. I'm like, what is going on? Is this actually true? No way. So then I connected it to one of my HP switches, logged into that management screen and looked at the port, and sure enough, 100 megabits per second. Wow. And yes, that's the WAN port and the LAN port, but yes. So again, with Wi-Fi, horribly slow speeds because I was limited by the 100 megabit speed limit. I'm just saying I got a gigabit connection coming into my home. To sell a router or anything that wants to pose as a router with 100 megabit NICs in it, just don't. No, just don't. When it comes to Wi-Fi signal strength, as far as how powerful or long range it can be, I got just a little over half the distance that I have with my C5400. Yes, the C5400 is a much more advanced and router focused device than this thing is, but less than half of it. And like literally I went upstairs and I went right above where the router was, and I didn't even make it all the way to the end of my house before it just dropped out, gave me an error message, and I lost signal. And I just kind of called it quits there because both of them were in the same place and it just did not provide me with any kind of strong signal to get halfway around my house. And to be clear, yes, I did put it on the long range mode option within the router settings on the device. So my conclusion here is if you have anything bigger than possibly a 2-bedroom apartment, you will probably be disappointed. And even if you have signal, it's still limited in speed. So, which is funny because let's say you have your main computer connected with an Ethernet port and you have a laptop connected with Wi-Fi, even if you're transferring files from one Wi-Fi device to an Ethernet connected device internally, you're still limited to 100 megabits. I ignored any further speed test because it was completely irrelevant due to the outdated technology with this device. As far as the router's abilities, well, it's also very limited. There's no options for things like IP reservations, port forwarding, VPN, etc. This thing is better compared to, let's say, a tablet with the option to turn on a hotspot. Seriously, I thought about this. This is basically a tablet with a hotspot. The only difference is that you are crippled by a 100 megabit NIC built into it. But it's basically a glorified hotspot. It's sad. Very few features, very few options, just very generic functionality. Not to mention that, but you are also limited to 2 LAN ports on the back. You have so much room for ports on the back, but so many limitations. But let's be honest, the WAN port is limited to 100 megabits per second. So how many devices do you actually want to connect to it? Probably not that many. For the Wi-Fi, like I said, it does have a 1200 megabits per second theoretical speed, which might be useful if you are connecting with multiple devices. You split that in half at 600 megabits per second. But again, it's completely pointless to use with anything connected on your network hardwired. So yes, not only is 1200 megabits per second fairly low in the market today, but it's completely worthless when you have anything connected to Ethernet. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but come on. You release a router with 100 megs, I can't help it. I really can't. So if you were to only buy this for a router, spend $350 for this as a router, you would get better value for your money if you were to take your money out of your wallet and burn it for heat. Okay, maybe it's not that bad, but this thing is like comparable to something you would find on a Walmart value shelf that costs like $50 in terms of speed and range. And those would even be better because those have gigabit NICs in them. So it's even worse than those. Now the Z-Wave technology, AKA the Smart Home Hub functionality. This is pretty cool, and be honest, the implementation is great. You can connect devices really easy. You can manage those devices from your remote very easily. Right here on your remote, as you can see, you can either A, pull up your power button that will, launch quick access to turn off rooms. You could B, launch your cameras. I have not connected a camera to it, or, you can go home, of course. But being able to monitor all of your energy usage, see what rooms are using what, and what room is costing you how much, this is actually really unique, especially if this is going to be a device that you're going to use potentially every day or at least close to it. You're already going to be there, so it's just easy to manage, connect, and everything. I like it. In fact, it's potentially going to get me to explore other Z-Wave connected devices. I haven't really got into that too much, but I kind of like the way it works. And I think maybe in the future, I might explore more smart devices for my own home. And then we move on to the remote. I love this remote. Okay, I extremely like this remote. I would say I love the remote if the thing would light up, but it doesn't. So I extremely like, pretty close to love. Let's just be honest, I do. And the reason why I say that is because it just kind of has everything that I want. It's easy to navigate. You got your up, down, left, right smack dab in the middle. You got all of your media buttons, play, pause, fast forward. You can adjust your volume, pull up menus, even have an air mouse because this is a Bluetooth remote. It does not require line of sight. So you can click the little air mouse and you can navigate just like you would in the air on any other air mouse device. You can turn the device off, mute it, etc., all of the basic functionality, but if you flip it around the back, you also get a full-fledged keyboard. This is very responsive, easy to use. The keys are soft enough to be easy to use, but hard enough to be able to push without having to push too hard to get them to work. If this thing would light up, it would be absolutely amazing. It doesn't light up, but overall, you can kind of feel your way around. And once you learn the remote, maybe you won't need it to light up. It does take 2 AAA batteries, as you can see here, kind of uniquely placed, one on each side. Efficient way to use the available space. Overall, great remote. I like it. So in conclusion, with built-in 100 megabit NICs as a router, this would be a perfect gift for your arch enemy, somebody that you truly and ultimately hate. But to rely on it for your own personal home network with any kind of real need for speed, you were just going to be disappointed. You're asking for headaches and possibly purchase regrets. It's great if you have absolutely no need for any kind of advanced feature whatsoever. And the Wi-Fi range, that Wi-Fi range is bad. Half of my C5400. If you got a 2-bedroom apartment, hey, perfect. You might get service in your bedroom, but I don't know. As for the Wi-Fi speed, again, this thing is limited by technology stolen from 1999. So, overall, it's hard for me to recommend a device with such old and limited technology to anybody to use as a real router. And yes, I keep doing the air quotes when I say router because it's a stretch to call it a router. But hey, as a media player, it offers a lot. It pulls everything into one screen. You can kind of go through it and discover different things. I really wish that I can configure it and change it to where it would only display what I had access to. I understand why they do it. They probably get some kickbacks, or they probably just want to force the whole discovery thing down everybody's throat. I just wish there was some configuration options there for everybody to not have to play Minesweeper when they want to find something to watch. That's all. It is still a very unique and modern day idea to, pull all of that online stuff to one device and one screen. But at $350, if you don't want to use this thing as a router, it is an overpriced media player. Albeit fast, albeit smooth, it's still overpriced. I would actually want to see maybe something called like an Arc Mini. I mean, drop all the whole router gimmick stuff, keep similar hardware specs, and you have a media player and a smart home hub. That'd be interesting because, hey, that Z-Wave integration, that smart home hub monitoring your energy also is a great feature. I like it, and is probably going to push me into exploring some other smart home devices. So in the end, spending $350 on only a media player, only a router, or only a smart hub is a tough sell. But having something that combines them all starts to give it a little bit of value. It's just too bad that it lacks the hardware to offer any real speed as a router. Features can of course be added from software updates, but the physical limitation of 100 megabit NICs cannot be improved. Honestly, it's a little embarrassing to offer a device that claims to be a router, at least in part, with such cheap hardware. It begs me to ask, how much money did they actually save in production shorting that hardware? Really, I mean, come on, this is 2018, people. But hey, I tell you what, if you were to drop this thing to 150 bucks, drop the router gimmick, you got yourself a pretty awesome media player and a smart home hub. And that I call the Arc Mini, which does not exist. I'm just saying, if that was a thing, and that was this thing, I would be impressed overall. And yes, you might need a few more tweaks on that home screen. Matricom spam. But overall, as it sits right now, for anyone that needs any kind of real router performance or speed out of their network, and you want to get this to not only play media, but you also want to utilize it as a router, I cannot recommend this at all. The value is not there, and even if this thing cost $50, you don't want to cripple yourself with 100 megabit speed limits. Because remember, that speed limit not only includes outside communication to the internet, but also on any connected device inside your own home. So guys, they did give me a coupon code. You can use coupon code JASON20 in the description down below. There'll be a link if you want to get a discount on a purchase of this device if you decide you want to buy it. You can also check out more detailed specifications if you like, but as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Like and subscribe below and have yourself a good day or night or whatever.